All right, everybody, come on in, come on in. Welcome back to another episode of the Let's Talk podcast with Maggie and Lucy. I am Maggie, the substitute teacher. You all know me for my cooking channel. I make food and femininity content. And with Lucy, we are the proud founders of the Finishing School for the Modern Woman, where we teach real women in the real world how to be the best version of themselves, leading with femininity, elegance, and etiquette. We also have basic classes on relationships and advanced classes on wife lessons, which is actually open for registration. We'll be teaching it in March. All of that you can get at teachablemomentswithmaggie.com if you're interested. But what we like to do twice a week with you all is we come here to the virtual world, and we believe the older women should teach the young. So we respond to relationship content and give you all our take as two older women with a combined over 40 years of marriage experience. So, Lucy, please introduce yourself and let us know, what are we reacting to tonight? I don't hear anything.
Again, struggle streaming to begin with. Hi, Erin, Laura. Hi, Maggie. Hi, everyone. So yes, I'm Lucy. I have a channel, a small YouTube channel that content is generally about femininity, elegance, and things that impact women over a certain age. But this particular video that we're going to be reacting to is, for me, I love to see videos where men are reacting to how chaotic we tend to be women. And I think this is going to be a good one because it's I believe it's I don't remember exactly what it was. I just found it, saw the beginning, Maggie, and I sent it to you because I knew it was going to be something good to react to. So again, I'm not really sure what the gist it is, but I think it's a woman complaining about marriage.
All right, you all. So we're going in head first into the buzzsaw, as my man would say. We like playing in traffic with you all. But yes, we do like to react to content that hopefully we can learn from. This is not about just getting our hot buttered popcorn and having a good laugh. It's really for the women who want a traditional relationship. So I'll give you all our two disclaimers and then we're going to get right into it. Lucy and I are here for the young women. Oh my goodness, next level coming in already with the $5 says, evening, ladies. The doors of the Holy House of Femininity are open. Come on down to the altar. Salute, ladies. Too kind. But again, disclaimer number one, Lucy and I are here for the young women who still want traditional relationship in the modern world. Maybe your mother didn't teach you how to be a good woman to a good man, and you want to take advantage of your youth. And so if you're in your prime and you want to learn from us, that is our intent. And then disclaimer number two, if you want to watch the video without our comments, it is linked in the description. We will play it and we will pause and we will give our commentary. So if you want to do something else, that's totally fine. You probably just won't be happy over here. All right. So we see everybody coming through. Hello, Sherry is here. Of course, Next Level is with us. Rebecca is here. Oh my goodness, everybody's coming in. We got the Condemned here. We got Jürgen from across the pond. Good morning to you in Germany. We will bring you all into the conversation. If you're watching on TikTok or you're watching on Instagram and you want your comments on the screen, come over to YouTube or Facebook, Maggie the Substitute Teacher, or Lucy's channel. We got USA Global TV and radios here. All right, everybody. And this podcast is available on YouTube Podcasts as well as YouTube Music. So you can find all of our episodes there. All right, so I will share my screen and we're going to get started, but I do have a little announcement. We now have registration open for the Maggie Lou meetup here in Atlanta. So excited. If you all are new here, we do a meetup once a year on our graduation weekend. The ladies will come to Atlanta and we will celebrate them. But on the first night, it's open to everyone. You can go to teachablemomentswithmaggie.com. I've also dropped the link if you want to get your tickets. It's $50 for one or $100 for two. I'll be there. Lucy will be there. Our students will be there. This is our meetup at Eclipse de Luna. You're going to have unlimited beer, sangria, and I think 9 rounds of tapas, and the food is incredible. Lucy has curated a menu for us that you all will love. So it's going to be on a Friday evening happy hour from 4 to 6 p.m. So if you want to come and visit with us, we would love to have you. All right. So I've dropped the link in the description and you all can get your tickets and we'll see you in April. Okay. So let us begin. I'm going to share my screen and we are going to get started. I'm excited and apprehensive all at the same time. All right. Let's see here. Ungrateful wife tested her husband's patience, and this happened. All right, so it looks like we have another content creator reacting to content. So this is from Ace Nate. And again, never heard of him, but let us begin. So let's get some sound. How about that? Hold up.
Anything. All these dishes, all the cleaning, all the extra work that I do, nothing. Because it's not your way. You control every situation in our lives.
Imagine trying to make your partner out to look terrible, like he's some villain, and all he's expressing is just how he just wants to feel appreciated after all that he does in a relationship. That's crappy. But this is a very common thing that happens in a lot of relationships. I just know we don't really see it happen from the male's point of view. It's always the female point of view. But this happens. I've had this happen to me. And it sucks. It does. I feel bad for the guy. I feel bad for anyone in a situation where their partner literally wants to take them for granted and not appreciate anything, and then try to make them out to be the bad guy. Like, there's a special place for people like that.
Well, I went to her profile, and I think she deleted this video because of how it was being received. So this guy had this video up with his reaction. But anyways, I was on her profile looking around, and what I noticed was she has so many videos role-playing her owning her narcissist. It's really weird, actually. But there's several videos. Here it is again, when you finally stand up to a narcissist, and it's like her role-playing, wrecking him. And then you've also got this video where she's playing the victim. But what I want you to notice is, well, obviously she's got a bunch of tattoos and they're visible at that, but also notice how she's presenting this guy as a narcissist over and over, which is pretty common with these ladies, women rather. And this clip itself, I'll probably get copyrighted if I play the sound, but what she's doing here in this clip, she says, the pressures of being a single mama, all right? So she's getting ready. So the first one, be present. Don't show if you're upset. She's like, wow, that's a lot. And then she runs into this other one. Men think you're damaged goods. It must have been her fault. Okay. Couldn't have been her fault, right? Nothing's a woman's fault. And then she runs into this other one. Okay, let's try this. Oh, you got a budget. Don't lose your job. Everyone is counting on you. She's like, whew, okay, that's a lot. What about this? Oh, if you get sick, you still have to show up. No breaks. Oh, man, that's a lot. Okay. She goes over here. Groceries are so expensive. But as long as my child eats, I'll be okay. And she looks up to the sky, takes one big breath. She says, I can't mess up. I am the backup. So what this is, right? This woman is obviously playing the victim a lot. Seems to be her go-to in this life. And so on the note of her, obviously playing the victim, pointing the finger, calling everybody else a narcissist, acting like she is this virtuous individual, let's play this clip as well for you to give you some more context on tattooed women.
No mistake.
Okay.
All right, everybody, before we get into our favorite topic of the tattooed women, It's already a lot. I'm trying to make sense of it all, but so much stood out to me in that first clip. And as always, we like to hear what you all want to say. But I do want to say, and some of you all have heard this content creator before, so I'm glad that you all know of him. But on first glance, one thing that stood out to me, I'm glad he made the distinction between woman and lady. There is a difference. I hear this, and this is a little pet peeve of mine, but there is female, which I absolutely abhor. You can be a female cat. There's female, then there's woman, which is an adult female human. And then there is lady, which is refined, elegant, with etiquette, like we teach. So anyway, what I understand from what was reviewed here is this is a woman. And did you all notice the first things, or one of the first things that he said is not only that she had tattoos and they're visible. Did you all hear that he made that distinction? So you all can argue me down about these tattoos, but Lucy and I come from traditional backgrounds. And because men are the ones that do the asking, they are the ones that do the choosing. Ladies, I always say we can accept with grace or we can exit with grace, but men don't want to see your tattoos before they see you. Put a pin in that. So apparently this woman, who has now since pulled this post on all of her social media, was basically her reenacting or making like videos or clips acting like different characters in her life, either herself as a single mom, so she says, or, you know, dealing with a narcissist, or maybe she tried to put her husband on blast and it backfired. You know, one of the things Mean Old Mister has said is that there's a lot of low-level mental illness with women today. And I didn't want to believe it. But ladies, we've talked about this social media. One, the internet is forever. Even if you try to pull something, it's just out there. So be very careful what you share. And then two, the amount of time and effort that you have to put in to make this whole content and edit it like you're Eddie Murphy in whatever that movie was, playing multiple characters. It's astounding to me. But basically, ladies, this is a glimpse into how much you are absorbed in your own life, how self-absorbed you are. You got to make content where you play every role and you're acting all this out, which to me says, how much are you really giving to your husband and family? And ladies, we talk about this in the wife lessons. Registration is open. We'll teach it again in March. But being a wife is a job, is a role. And it's not about you. So if your life is all about you, you're not cut out for a relationship. And apparently she thought this would be another piece of content that she put out there that everybody was going to lap up, and they pretty much ripped her for it. What would you add, Lucy?
And one of those clear indications that it looks like she lacks impulse control is her ability to have those tattoos that are visible. She posted a video that she thought she was going to get validated for, but she didn't think about the consequences until she got the consequences, and she had the sense to remove it from social media. But it's already out there. So again, it seems to me that, yeah, that as Mean Old Mister, as you call him, that concept that he says, low-level mental health issues, I think there are. And, you know, we're not going to talk about how much also the stuff that we put in our bodies, like contraceptives, all of the stuff that chemical changes that we put in our bodies that makes all those hormones just go in disarray. You know, I think it's helping on that low level, plus the narcissism, plus all the need for validation. And on the time that this young lady is using to post all of these TikTok videos, thank goodness it's leaving, hopefully on the 19th, the world is not going to end. You know, there's other applications that you guys can post your content, but instead of spending that time with the child, just, you know, with developing that relationship with the child, she's spending that time posting videos for what? What is the goal? What is the intent?
Yeah, absolutely, you all. So we're going to take a look at what you all are saying in the comments, but I will say this because I want to make sure that there's a teachable moment in everything. So young ladies, especially those of you all who don't remember a time before social media, Lucy and I were around before social media. You will not die if you do not have it. But if you are going to use social media is a very powerful tool. Lucy and I are on social media. You can use it to help. You can also use it to hurt. So ladies, I would ask you to take a look at your own social media. Scrub it for yourself. Just go take a look at it now. When you scroll, if all you see are pictures of yourself, that sends a message. If you're not doing anything productive, if you're not helping, if you're not teaching, if you're not doing anything that makes someone else's life better, what that says to a man looking is, oh, this is all about her. So if I come into life with her, it's going to always be about her. So be careful about that. All right. Do you have any other hobbies or interests? Can you do anything besides smile and look pretty? All right. That's important. Let's see what you all are saying in the comments, and then we will get back to the next video. Everybody coming in and saying hello. Jurgen is saying, stay away from single moms. Yes, ladies, we know how the men feel. It's natural biology. Men want their own family. They don't want a ready-made family. We've said it. Get offended if you want to. Discipled One says, in other words, what Maggie and Lucy are, a lady. Thank you. You are so kind. Thank you. And we hope to be that example because a lot of women haven't seen it. A lot of young women especially think you can be just like the boys. You can do that if you want to. You will not get the outcome that you want because they will see you. They will not see you as a lady that needs to be protecting. You'll just be just another dude. That's fine if you want. Erin Laura says, the low-level mental illness, it sounds mean, but it's absolutely the truth. Ladies, everything that the men that we want say sounds mean, but it's necessary. And I heard something this week I'm still processing. Maybe I'll share later on, maybe I won't, but yes, ladies, we have to understand men are very direct, and the way they communicate is the way they see it. So they're not going to filter it for our feelings. And so you have to get used to hearing those hard truths and then act accordingly. But yeah, it is. Thank you, Erin Laura. Discipled One says the video is forever. You said that to your first wife over 30 years ago. Yes, I mean, we are in the modern age. This is part of the modern age. We all have these devices, these lights, cameras, and action. And so that's great. But just remember that you are leaving some legacy. You will be remembered for something. The good news is you get to choose what you are remembered for. And young ladies, especially, we don't want you to be remembered for your worst moments. The Condemned says, facts, Maggie, even among women, there is a hierarchy. Most women in this society fight to rebel against it, but this woman seems particularly interested in those she diagnoses as a narcissist. And I just want to say something about that. You know, this word gets thrown around a lot. I'm not a doctor. Lucy is not a doctor. And ladies, young ladies especially, it's popular to have all these psychobabble words in your vocabulary today. He was a narcissist. He is codependent. He has some kind of issues, just whatever. Number one, drop all of that. Men don't like that therapy speak. You are not a therapist unless you are, but most of us are not. Have the ability to just communicate about the facts and what happened. Stop trying to diagnose somebody, because what it does is it makes you look like you know better, you're better than. There's nothing wrong with saying what happened, but I'm going to tell you, like mean old mister said, keep calling your exes narcissists. His next question is, well, why does a narcissist have access to you? Why do you keep picking narcissists? So the men that we want are very logical, and they're going to ask questions that you need to be able to answer. So be very careful about your word choice, ladies. Erin Laura says the amount of people these days eating everything pre-prepared and processed, no home cooking, is terrible. What we put in our bodies is so important. Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, thank you. I'm glad this is helping. All right, let's go back in, y'all, and see what else we can learn.
Mistake.
just had an ER patient request a different nurse because he didn't want a nurse covered in tattoos with piercings. Homeboy, you have better rainbow than you do finding an ER nurse without massive amounts of trauma that turns into tattoos and piercings.
Well, there you go. From the horse's mouth.
We don't exist. We're all covered in tattoos and piercings to hide our trauma. Sorry.
So on the note, like talking about nurses and tattoos or whatever, I want to throw out there that I've never, because I used to work around nurses a lot. I've worked around ER nurses and floor nurses. And I'm going to sound like a massive misogynist here, but I've never in my life encountered such an awful group of people. However, I will say I never had any issues with male nurses. Okay. So like I said, I'm going to sound like a big misogynist here. But what I noticed is that these women, these female nurses were so awful, horribly rude, just extremely rude, so passive aggressive. And what they would do is, obviously it's a stressful job. I'm not taking that away. I know it's a stressful job. Trust me, I know. But they make everyone around them feel that stress. They have zero composure. So they make sure that you know they're stressed. They make sure that you also feel that stress. And it manifests through like passive aggressiveness, where it's you could if you waved your hand in the air, you could feel the passive aggressiveness. You could taste it. It was so obvious, and yet they still would do it. And so this woman here is a testament to what I'm saying. She had a patient tell her, hey, I don't want an ER nurse with tattoos and piercings, whatever. So what does she do? She goes online, and what does she do as well? Presents an extremely passive aggressive mindset, or just her language is super, super passive aggressive. It's so condescending.
All covered in tattoos and piercings to hide our trauma.
Like you see the smirk, the smugness.
Sorry.
The passive aggressiveness. So yeah, I mean, and I experienced this well before I was, I guess you could say I was red pilled or whatever, but it's just something I picked up on. And I was like, what is going on here? Why are they so awful? But anyways, with the whole tattoos thing, we go back to this woman here. It makes sense. And of course, she's not going to think she's the problem. She's going to play the victim. She's going to call everybody else a narcissist. She's got baggage. She's got trauma. She's a red flag in itself. And what I've noticed actually is that these women who are constantly talking about being victims or labeling others as narcissists, they themselves are exhibiting narcissistic tendencies. So by consistently centering conversations on their suffering and portraying themselves as these like virtuous victims, they've done nothing wrong, they're perfect. What they're doing is that they're drawing all this attention and validation from all these other women online. And this need for attention and validation is like a core desire of narcissists. And so these women are often projecting their own flaws, such as like the self-centeredness or a lack of accountability. And they're projecting this onto others while avoiding their own introspection. And so a woman like this, her need to maintain like a moral superiority and control the narrative, which is exactly what she's doing, and what's exactly what so many of these women are doing when they come on to bash their husbands. They're trying to control the narrative. They're painting themselves as virtuous victims. They're trying to get attention and validation. So it's like, ironically, their obsession with exposing narcissists reveals their own inability to reflect on their role in conflicts, making them embody the very traits that they're criticizing. And so keep in mind, right, women with a bunch of tattoos as well, they also report higher levels of approval when it comes to egalitarianism. They approve it more than than the women who are not tattooed. They have a higher need for sensation seeking. I covered a study on here talking about this. And they also are more likely to engage in non-committed sexual relations. So it's no surprise when you get into a relationship with one of them, you're going to kind of butt heads with them because they're also more masculine women. They believe in egalitarianism. So they're more likely to believe in men and women equal. So it's just going to be a mess. Big time.
All right, everybody, let's unpack this one. This one was a lot. A few things stood out to me. I've already addressed the whole narcissist thing that I'm not going to really talk about because I'm not qualified to talk about it. I know my limitations, and I think we could go around and around with the tit for tat. I know you are, but what am I? But there were several things that stood out to me in the women and then also his observation of the women. So let's go back. The first thing I'll talk about is her response. So apparently this is a nurse and she has tattoos and piercings at work. I grew up in a time where if you had any of that, you either had to take it out or keep it covered up. I don't know what's going on now. I have had wonderful experiences with nurses. However, I have learned something quite different from men. We'll talk about that and why in a moment. So she got some feedback at work. Her appearance was unsettling to one of her patients, and he requested a different nurse because during his time of need, he didn't want to look at something unsightly to him. And instead of taking the feedback and thinking about, if this patient is thinking that, I wonder what other people might think of my appearance. Do what you want to do. It's a free country. But like he said, she took her offense to the internet to rant. But I did notice the tone in which she was complaining. She said something like, you know what, homeboy, we're all tatted and pierced because of our trauma. So what that says to me, young ladies, is this is a woman that if a man says anything that I didn't like that, or, I don't want you hanging out with these people, or can you, pick up something for me or make a meal? The way that she responds is going to be leading with an attitude, leading with, if anybody tells her anything she doesn't like, you're going to get it back with both barrels. Unqualified to be a wife, unqualified, in my opinion, to be in a relationship, because if you are in a relationship, you have to be open to feedback, and not all of that feedback is going to be good, but you have to love enough to want to get better. She's, in her mind, it's kind of like, all of us are like this. That was the first thing for me. The second thing, which is kind of like a half a thing, did she notice that we all tattooed and pierced to hide our trauma? Ladies, you gotta, again, circling back to what I said before, you gotta stop with all this therapy speak, okay? If you need to go talk to a therapist, go handle your business and then, date with positive intent. But bragging that you have all these wounds and trauma, I'm gonna give you another quote from Mean Old Mister. Life is already hard. Men are not out here looking for another problem to solve. The reason why they want a relationship is to help make that journey easier together. So if you show up as another problem to solve, if you show up with all this baggage and trauma and you're leading with it and you're proud of it and you expect the man of your dreams to stop what he's doing to come fix your wounds from childhood or ex-boyfriends or what bad decisions, it's not going to happen. You're just going to find yourself alone. All right. So the whole thing about nurses, I wanted to have this conversation, especially young ladies. And to me, this can be about nurses and or any other very stressful job. And I didn't understand this when the late great Kevin Samuels was talking about the different careers that men will often avoid. But here's why, ladies. You see a perfect example of it here. You're going to have to choose. You cannot have it all. You cannot. So if you're going to go the career path, especially the very demanding career path, know that it's going to be at the expense of a relationship, maybe family that you want. You're not going to be able to do both well. And I see this. I work in tech, used to be an executive. I see this in a lot of professional women. When you chase after the career and you give your best effort, your best years, your youth, you give all of that energy to someone else's business, you're only human. You don't have enough left to really build a home that a man would want to come home to be a loving mother. I was there snapping at the kids. I hated that. I hated it. Thankfully, the pandemic made me sit down somewhere. But ladies, these jobs, what you find out when you get to our age is you gave 20, 30 years, and now you're a shell of yourself for what? Here's the problem where women think that they're equal to men. And my man said this: men will do this. They will go work in the coal mine. They will go work in the oil rig. They will go do those stressful jobs because it is providing for the family, for the wife and children that they want. So at the end of that career, they have a legacy that they've created that they can look back and say, you know what, it took years off of my life, but look at what I've done. We women are not built for that. We give our lives to these big jobs, and then we have nothing to show for it. And then you're asking yourself, what was it all for? So that's why I always say, we are not the same. We are not equal. We are equally valued, but we're very different. What would you add, Lucy?
Yes, and these two women are the perfect illustration of why, they get to 35 and they say, where are the good men? They're everywhere. They just see the kind of train wreck that you are just by looking at what you've done to your body, just to, the piercings, the tattoos, that attitude that you get. How are you going to be so defiant to the place, to the people that are coming to you for your care, and then you blame it on your trauma? Then maybe that's not the environment that you should be working on. And it's so sad because I remember my husband, after he had his heart surgery, he told me there's one lady that when she has to move me, she throws me around and she goes, I had to ask for a male nurse. And the male nurse, it was completely different. And it was so shocking to me. And again, it was the pandemic was ending. So I wasn't I couldn't be there that often. So I can just imagine, an elderly person or a child, getting that kind of treatment from a nurse who is your caretaker at that moment. That is absolutely, it shouldn't be inappropriate. It shouldn't be part of your job. And I'm hoping that if this woman put this on her social media, somebody complained and she had repercussions, because the ladies need to start feeling the consequences of their actions. We've gotten to a point where we can do no wrong. No matter what we do, we are not made accountable for our bad behavior. And I think it's time to start becoming more aware of the bad behavior that's out there and calling it out. We can talk about the beautiful things that we women can do, but unfortunately in the modern world, that is an exception and not the rule.
Such a good point. I want to see what you all are saying in the chat, but let me go on the record by saying I have had amazing experiences with nurses. Yes, there are amazing nurses out there, but ladies, unfortunately, you are being lumped together with some women who do not give the profession a good name, especially when it comes to, relationships. And that's sad because, as women, that's supposed to be one of our feminine qualities, right? That nurturing and caretaking. So just know that you can't be all things to all people, and you got to choose what your priority is. All right. All right. So let's go back and see what you all are saying in the chat. I think we ended here. Discipled One says, every man carries a mirror of accountability. Are you ready to gaze into it, ladies? No, I think that's the thing we run away from. But it's true. And I've said this and I'll continue to say it, especially as a boy mom and watching them grow. I see how life is very harsh and very instant to boys. They touch the hot stove, they get burned every single time. They don't get a pass. They don't get a second chance. They don't get a, well, you don't understand. Let me tell you my life story. There's a consequence every time for men. And I've seen that now. And so that's where a lot of men have their wisdom. It cost them something to get that. It wasn't free. And ladies, it's probably time for us to start learning and earning those lessons. Here, Laura's shocked. And Discipled One says, most know to be very circumspect around nurses. If we have any men in the chat that care to share, I'd love to know maybe what your perception or experience has been with nurses. This one is new to me, but I know I have some students that are nurses. And when I tell them what I hear from men, a lot of them are shocked. So maybe that could be helpful. All right. Come on in, everybody. We're about halfway through, but hello, tired mommy. Erin Lar says, I partly blame employers. Women feel so comfy speaking like this online. Though someone from work may recognize them, they know there likely won't be repercussions. It baffles me. I have seen people lose jobs and other things because of their social media. So I have seen the repercussions, but yeah, right now there are a lot of passes and it's a lot more lax than maybe it should be. But I think you don't get away with anything, ladies. It may not come down instantly, but that hammer is going to come down. You're going to run out eventually. So just be very careful. And again, the internet is forever. Thank you for the fire and flames, Jessica. Oh, yes. Come on in, everybody. All right. All right. You all are talking about, no repercussions because of DEI. Well, I don't get into the news or politics here, but you all have probably seen a lot of those initiatives are going away for whatever reason. So things may change very soon. And you all agree there should be penalties for that. All right. Yes, we agree. Lucy is telling it like it is. Jurgen says a lot of the nurses just treat men badly. That makes me very sad. I think it's because, and I don't know, I'm not a nurse, I work in tech, but what I have seen with women that have very stressful jobs, there's almost like an entitlement that you should understand I had a hard day. You should understand that I have to go through this at work. I don't have anything left to give. I'm tired. I'm stressed out, whether you're a nurse or whether you're an executive or whatever. But ladies, have you thought that the men that you want are also just as exhausted, are also just as, frustrated at work, are also just as, annoyed with their coworkers or their boss or their projects, yet and still they have a composure where they know they can shut that off and, take time to decompress and then transition into being the men that we want, because they know that they're going to have to provide and deliver and be consistent and hold masculine frame. They're not going to be able to go sit in the corner and cry because they had a bad day. So just be careful about that, ladies. I always say choose wisely. All right, let's go back in.
Was falling apart when my marriage was falling apart with my ex-wife, I was required by her to go to a therapist. This was non-negotiable. If I did not go to a therapist, she was going to file for divorce immediately. So I found a therapist local in my area. I made an appointment. He took my insurance and I went. At my first session, I sat down, I met the guy. He looked like the dad from Family Ties, like exactly like him. And we talk about my marriage, my relationship with my son, who was 2 at the time, her son, my stepkid, that was 8 or 9, her parents, her friends.
So he married a single mom. He stepped up and did the right thing. He did the right thing. Let's see how it played out for him.
And it was an hour and it was fine. My ex-wife was impressed. I actually went. She didn't think I was going to do it. So the second week was more the same, not much different. But at the end of the second session, the therapist was like, next week, I would like to see your wife and you together. See if you can make that happen. So I go home and I tell her, and she's like, absolutely. I can't wait. I will absolutely come with you. So I'm like, okay, great. She's got a lot to get off her chest, right? So the third session starts. The two of us are on the couch, and the therapist is asking her questions. He's not asking me anything. He's like, well, why do you think your husband has a problem with your friends? She goes, well, I work with these people, and then once we're off the clock, we go out on a Saturday night or a Friday night, and when I call him and tell him I'm not going to be home to 2:30, he gets upset and tells me I'm not his, he's not my babysitter, because he's not just watching our kid, but he's watching my kid, and I don't appreciate that. And he's like, well, you can kind of see his point. You are a married woman. And I'm like, oh. And you could see the steam coming out of her ears. And every other thing that he was talking to her about or bringing up, he was basically taking my side in. And I'm like shaking my head. I'm like, you gotta stop. Like, stop this. You're gonna get me in trouble. So the session ends. We're walking out in the parking lot. She goes, I don't know where you found him, but he's a quack. I'm not coming back here again. Matter of fact, you probably know this guy somehow, some way. And this was a setup. And the marriage was officially over 5 weeks later.
Wow. So these women really, they want marriage therapy as long as they aren't really being held accountable. The reason that this woman brought it up, she's like, I want marriage therapy because we're going to go and talk about how wrong you are. Are you ready? You want to do that? You excited to go do that and talk about how bad of a husband you've been? Are you excited for the therapist to browbeat you into submission? Are you excited to embrace your docile side and finally figure out how wrong you are? That's not what happened, is it? Turns out you're actually kind of a bad wife. You're coming home at 2:30 in the morning, and your husband is watching not only your guys' child, but the child that you created with another man. This guy's like, I'm sitting home at 2:30 a.m. My wife is gone, and I'm babysitting some fucker I didn't even create. What's going on here? And she's like, yeah, no, you're the problem. And we're going to go to therapy so we can address the fact that you're 100% the problem. And I have a theory in it, and it's that it seems that, and again, it's a theory, but it seems that many women today have a difficult time maintaining relationships unless the man is a complete pushover, unless he has zero boundaries or self-respect. Any man who does assert himself and has dignity, well, he's often labeled what? A narcissist. So these women will then, it seems that when they exit this relationship with the narcissist, what they will then go and look for is a compliant, gynocentric partner in their second marriage, often bringing a child into the dynamic, which is what this guy found himself in. And as it turns out, this man isn't quite as much of a pushover as this woman would have liked. So what does she do? She says, yeah, nope, this ain't going to work. You're challenging me on things, and I don't like it. You're supposed to be a docile pushover. What happened? This woman is clearly the problem. So now what's going to happen? Now she has a child. She has 2 children with 2 different men because she can't seem to handle being held accountable. So this tells me a lot. This says a lot about how non-compliant and overly masculine modern women have become as they seem to demand relationships that operate entirely on their terms. No, I'm not saying this is how all of them are, but I'm just talking about what I've noticed what seems to be playing out. And what happens is these women who are masculine and have been told that they can do no wrong, well, they often clash with men who are confident and self-assured, and they themselves dominant, because that's what is kind of a trait. That's a trait of men, dominance. And so when these women encounter men like this, it will often lead to a breakdown in the relationship. And as a result, these women will gravitate toward men who pedestalize them and prioritize their needs above all else, because it's the only dynamic these women can tolerate, where their needs are just number one, prioritized constantly. And so what we often see is that in a relationship where a man's happiness is considered or talked about, it's often a sign of his misogyny or insecurity. Wait, hold on. Male happiness inside of a relationship. No. That's not a thing in a gynocentric world. It's all about the woman. And oh, by the way, the woman is never wrong. But what happens is these women leave these relationships where they were challenged or where they weren't constantly pedestalized. And then they go and seek these other men who are docile and pushovers. But the problem with that is these relationships often lack passion and sexual chemistry, because the polarity is opposite to what it should be. Got a masculine woman and a feminine man. Well, this woman isn't going to be attracted to this feminine man. And so that often leads to a sexless marriage. The guy gets no respect. He gets no pussy. What's the point? So yeah, it's not really a surprise that masculine man and masculine woman relationships are not optimal, because they're clashing heads. And the truth is, opposites do attract. Yeah. And so what happens is when this masculine woman, masculine man clash, well, this guy is going to be inevitably labeled a narcissist when the relationship ends. And this woman, to no fault of her own, zero fault, and she's going to go ahead and resort to the victim, go online. Now, not all of them do it, of course, but obviously the women that do, they're trying to control the narrative. Crazy. So I think it's funny. The reason these women often want marriage therapy is not to talk about what perhaps they've been doing wrong, but they want validation. They want a therapist to concur with the fact that, yeah, actually, your husband is a piece of shit. Actually, you're never wrong. This guy's always in the wrong. And that's why they want therapy. And you know what? They often get it. Because a lot of these therapists are women who come from a liberal background, college, feminists, probably have this like anti-male mindset, because how could they not? But that didn't happen this time, because it was a male. And because it was a male, she thought it was a setup, and that maybe this guy knew him. Unbelievable. But then again, it is believable. But I'm going to end it there. So if you enjoyed that, leave a like and a subscription. See you later.
Because all I do is care for our fucking family and do bust my.
All right, everybody. So let's unpack this last one. That was a lot, but I think we can definitely learn from all of this. So this whole thing about therapy, and again, I am not a doctor. And of course, if you need to talk to somebody, therapy can be beneficial. But ladies, especially in relationships in general, men have an aversion to therapy precisely for the reason that we saw in this video. Most men that I've talked to that therapy has tried to be pushed on them, what the woman wants is exactly what this man said, is for the therapist to say, that's right, you are a bad man, and the man to be piled on. So she was completely unprepared for the therapist to say, you are a married woman. What are you doing out at 2 o'clock in the morning with your coworkers that you've already been working with, all day? She wasn't prepared to answer that. She had no idea that it would actually turn on her to be accountable for her own behavior. And what stood out to me is how she immediately went from 0 to, this must be a setup. You must know this man. You've planned it. Nowhere in that 0 to 100 leap that she made is, you know what? Maybe I can do something a little bit better. Oh, thank you so much, Sunkiss. Appreciate you. There was no thought in her mind that she could be at fault or even have a little bit of room for improvement. So, young ladies, here's my assignment for you. How do you respond when you're told no? What did you do the last time you did not get your way? You asked your man for something or you wanted something and it was either a no or not yet or something other than what you wanted. You know, I'm watching some, you know, I don't watch TV much, but I'm going down the rabbit hole of some show I'm watching. And at this point in my life, I am able to watch whether it's a rom-com or some type of drama and understand that is entertainment. My fear is that a lot of women look at what they see online, on movies, Disney, Hollywood, whatever, and think that is the real world. If your man is not peeling your grapes and fanning you and lavishing you with gifts and complimenting you every day, there's something wrong with him. That is not the real world. So ladies, if you are going to go to therapy, I would encourage you to just talk to your man, but you have to be open and you have to be ready to have that mirror held up to you. And if you want to sit there on that couch and go through all of the things that you don't like about what he's doing, be prepared because you need to be able to hear all of the things that he doesn't like. But if you prioritize the relationship, then you all can both work through that and get better. If you think it's just going to be a you know what session, the relationship is doomed. The other thing that stood out to me, and he said it kind of quick and he said it kind of slick, but did you notice how he talked about the child that wasn't, you know, his? And we talk about this often, ladies, but I will say this: what is the lesson? Is it impossible? No. Is it going to be a lot harder when you have another man's kids? Yes. So you have to understand that if you are coming into a relationship with children, you need to overperform because that man he's already there every day looking at somebody that's not his, reminded every day that that's not his legacy. If this kid goes off and does something great, it's going to benefit somebody else. So he is having that reality every moment. So the more you can do to make everything easy, to make everything compatible, and to not cause that friction, because he's going to go from 0 to it's not even my kid anyway, and then you're going to get your feelings hurt. This is why a lot of men don't even try it with women who already have children, because they know, you know what, this is going to go left. And I'm going to tell you, like my man said, they know they're never going to be the priority. Because as a mother, it's natural that you think about your children. And if they're not his children, he's taking a further back seat. And every man wants to be the king of his own castle. So you can get mad if you want to, but that's just the biology of it, ladies. So if you are so fortunate to have a man who is willing to take you and another man's child, be grateful and remember every day that it could be a different way. What would you add, Lucy?
I don't know. It's kind of exhausting to see how the modern woman's mind has been warped into thinking that they are, for some reason, they're goddesses and that they cannot do wrong. And unfortunately, they're learning that as time goes by, that complex, it's going to go away. Because again, when you're young, they can do no wrong because you have that youth, you have that beauty, you have that supposed innocence. But once you start getting into that age, your prospects are going to start not being there. And unfortunately, even though you think that this is something that it's talked about, on the ether and it doesn't exist, the wall does exist for a reason. There's a time and a place for everything. And once you've gone through a certain threshold, your opportunities to get that man are limited. And if you add your attitude, if you add the way you present yourself, if you add all of those additional negative things, you're in a bad situation, and good luck to you.
Yeah, good luck, because you are going to need it. If you want a relationship, people always try to argue me down. Not all, not all, not all. That's fine. Be alone. Golden Girls is taking new applications every day. But ladies, if you want to enjoy your golden years, if you want to get to the second half with someone who's emotionally invested in you, take advantage and make good decisions while you have the leverage. It is a very brief window, believe me. All right. So let's see what you all are saying in the chat, and then we will wrap it up. All right. All right. Let's see. Where did we? Oh, gosh, I went too far back. Here I am, y'all. All right. We talked about employers. All right. We talked about the nurses. All right. Yes, this woman was coming home at 2:30 in the morning, and that just says a lot. Put the relationship on pause for just a moment. As a mother, and I'm not saying, ladies, that you should never have fun, but they were in therapy because she wanted to work with people all day and then go out with them, not just for happy hour or drinks, but out until 2:30 in the morning. And you're a mother with small children. Why? Shouldn't you?
She already had an eye on someone in that organization. She already had a prospect over there, and then she was looking to see her exit strategy.
Lucy said she was monkey branching. All right, now, well, Lucy called it. All right, so back to therapy. Jurgen says many female therapists today are feminists and are more interested in gender than in men's problems. Yeah, this is, again, not a doctor, not a therapist. I will just say this. Be very careful, ladies. If you are going to go to therapy, find someone who is pro-relationship, who is balanced. Maybe get a referral. Not all, but oftentimes there are people in certain professions who profit from you needing to continue to come back because things are unraveling. Because if you just think about it logically, if you have an issue, you fix the issue, you go on about their life, they have to find another source of income. So just be careful. And again, not all. Been to therapy after divorce. It was helpful, but it was a short time. Figured out what I did wrong, got on the program second time around. All right. Yeah, so you all understand. Discipled One says Ace is speaking the truth, and you had that same experience with your first wife. I don't know what it is about these women who want to be married but still live like they're single. It's crazy to me. Okay. Tired Mommy says, sir, that divorce was rhetorically the best thing that happened to you. She was selfish beyond selfish. And ladies, here's the thing. The way men look at how we behave, again, this is what I tell our students. It's not about the moment. It's not about the pout. It's not about the attitude. It's not about the silent treatment or the cold shoulder right now. They are extrapolating this out. I got to live with this for the next 20 years, 30 years, 40 years. So when there's a real problem, when there's a health problem, when there's a financial problem, when there's a family problem, like I said, again, my man told me men know that life is hard. So they're looking for a woman who's going to be loyal and on their team to make it just a little bit easier. So you don't want to bring problems into that relationship if you want to keep the relationship. So if you are so used to getting your way, if you've never been told no, if you're going to pout and can't get right because it wasn't the outcome or the answer that you wanted, men are going to cut their losses. And I'm going to say it. My man said something this week, ladies, and it hurt me. But he said, a man doesn't leave you for another woman. A man leaves you for himself. He may end up with another woman, but he left you for himself. Meaning, He was looking at life with you for the next however long and deciding if that's how he wants to live his life for the rest of his life. So I see this a lot with women who have their eye on, trying to whack-a-mole other women. Is she prettier? Is she thinner? Is she this? Is she that? It's not about that, ladies. You need to make sure if you have a man and if you value your relationship, every single day I wake up and think, how can I make life better for him? How can I make life easier for him? How can I be more pleasant, more accommodating? I prioritize that. If you don't, then every day he's thinking, is this what I want? Do I want to do this again tomorrow? Do I want to do this again next week? Do I want to do this again next year? And if the answer is no for himself, and here's the thing, ladies, he also said he may still physically be there and just working on his own exit strategy, because y'all know how we are when someone tells us it's not going to work. So be very careful about that, ladies. Those y'all with the jealous streak, you know who you are. That man is not leaving you for another woman. He is leaving you for himself. All right, I said it. Let's go on. Erin Laura says, I wonder if a male and female therapist were both in the room, would they end up disagreeing and how they would resolve the couple's issues? Good question. I know when we went to marriage counseling, it was with a couple. It was with a husband and wife. So do what works for you. Just make sure whoever you're talking to has the relationship as a priority, not who's right or wrong, the relationship. All right. There's going to be times when you're right. There's going to be times when he's right. The Condemned says, several of my immediate family took time off from work to care for my father in his last days. Certain nurses that were charged with his care before us showed incompetence, and you almost about to fight. Yeah, this whole nurse thing is new to me. I'm really sorry. I have great experiences with nurses, but I'm not a man. All right. Discipled One says, Ace is correct. Personal experience with my first wife. We went to therapy. She picked the therapist. The therapist was a female. The therapist started to hold her accountable and therapy stopped. I have heard this. I have heard this from men that they take it. And then when it's finally time for them to speak and they say, okay, let me let you know what I've been struggling with. The women stop coming. The women, like in this video, she accused him. You must know him. This must be a setup. Anything other than, you know what? Maybe I can do a little bit better. Ladies, that's a shame. Absolutely a shame. Suave D says, fellas, always remain in your masculine frame and mindset. If she can't handle it, let her go. Many women say they want men, but they don't understand what comes with the territory of being one. I'm telling you, go get you a high value man. You will be crying. Y'all, it is not for the weak, right? All men are amazing, but yeah. The men that you want, ladies, they're not playing with you. Believe me. All right. Thank you all for liking the live stream. And no, your man is not going to peel your grapes. Don't expect it. All right. And Jurgen said, I told you about those single moms. I heard you, Jurgen. I heard you. Yep. She was out until 2 a.m. Lucy said with her eyes on somebody else, but now she got an ex-husband. So that's what it was. Thank you, Charles D, for the support. And yes, all right, Lucy, what would you add?
Speaking of making our husbands' lives easier, I hear him in the back. I made him a lasagna, so he's starving. So thank you for being here. Thank you all for attending our live stream. This was a really interesting topic. Ladies, we got to learn how to take care of our men. We got to learn how to appreciate what they do for us and start loving them for all they do and they have done and they will do for us.
Absolutely. So we are here on Wednesdays at 9 p.m. We will be back with you all Saturday at 5 p.m. Eastern for another reaction video. Again, your announcements as we let you all go. Tickets are now available for the Maggie Lou meetup. If you want to join us here in Atlanta, Friday, April 4th, it's going to be me, Lucy, and our students. Come eat, drink, and be merry. Also, registration is open for our next course, which is the advanced course, the wife lessons. We will teach it live in March. Everything is at teachablemomentswithmaggie.com. You all can go and get access, and then we will teach it live. So we will will see you all on the next one. Thank you to our contributors for today. Sunkissed for the $1.99. We appreciate it. Next Level for the $5. We appreciate those of you on Instagram and TikTok. We will see you all on Saturday night. All right. Thank you, everybody. Until then, adios.
Adios.